If you love to be remembered as the person who gives the best birthday gifts, I'm here to tell you that 1-800-Flowers.com is your ultimate birthday gifting destination. 1-800-Flowers has thoughtful and artfully created options that are guaranteed to deliver the best birthday surprise. Shop thousands of unique gifts at 1-800-Flowers.com for exclusive offers and great values. To order today, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/tune-in. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/tune-in.
Hello again and welcome. This is Michigan's AutoTalk podcast, episode number 40. Yes, welcome to episode number 40. I'm producer Phil Tower. In just a moment, you will hear from Schwinkendorf and John Puhek, co-hosts for the AutoTalk podcast. We remind you that Michigan's AutoTalk podcast is all about covering everything automotive. We're here in the great state of Michigan, birthplace of everything automotive, and we produce this episode and all of our episodes for you, the car and truck lovers across the state of Michigan, birthplace of course, the big three and everything that comes out of Detroit. We talk about pretty much as we had in episode number 39, where we welcome Phoebe Wall-Howard, who covers the automotive industry for the Detroit Free Press. We got some breaking news out of that, where Ford surpassed GM in total market value, which, by the way, guys, welcome to the podcast.
Hey.
Howdy.
I don't know. Did that surprise you guys? I guess it's not that much of a surprise because
I read it today. They go back and forth.
Yeah, but Al, you were saying
Chevrolet
something which
comes
is
out
true.
with a new Corvette and boom, they pop ahead just because of the potential, what they call potential future orders or something like that. They go back and forth and they have for years, but GM's always been the big one. We're going to talk about snow and winter because we got a big storm here coming, and I'm going to change this all up because I just had a thought and I want to have a little Q&A with Mr. John. Diesels, very, very hot commodity. I mean, I started working on them in like 1980 when you bought a Cadillac. It was either a V8 6.4, which was a crap engine, or it was a Oldsmobile 350 that was converted to diesels, and we had junk all along. They've got them to the point now that the Isuzus and the GMs and the, Ford took their contract away from International, is making their own Power Strokes, and, they're lightweight and they're not what we were used to, but they're making them work and they're very, very popular and they're selling them. John, I want to hear from John about taking care of and starting your diesel in cold weather because they're way tougher than gas engines.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff like glow plugs, plugging them in. At what temperature do you go out and if you had a Duramax, at what temperature would you go plug that puppy in? 40, 30, 20, 10?
I'd go, if you're a newer Duramax, which all the Duramax people are going to hate it when I say it's
go for
pretty much an Isuzu. The newer one, I would say anything like under 40, I'd go out there and I'd plug that in. We've had some Power Strokes and some other Duramaxes in the shop, and I always seem to get stuck with them for some reason. Al doesn't like me, so he gives them to me.
That's why.
But the glow plugs, and you can do block heaters, but the modern ones are so finicky. The joke is when you got a 6.0 Power Stroke that comes in and it's a no start, check the oil. $10. It's right. 6 quarts low on oil because they're injector fired oil fire injectors, and 9 times out of 10, that's what it is, and boom, fires right up and away you go. I will say,
but that even happens in the summertime.
Oh yeah, no, it does, and
right.
With the new ones,
I guess what I'm saying is, if you got that cord and how many, here's the thing, what do we call those, like the urban farmers that we have out in our neck of the woods? People from the city that move out. So the first thing they got to do is buy a diesel powered truck, and then they get a trailer so they can go buy a John Deere tractor and be green like their neighbor, whatever. Don't even know that they've got a power cord there to plug the thing in. But diesels take forever to warm up. That's why you see semi trucks with the shutters on the front and the blankets over their radiators, so the guy inside isn't freezing to death. Why not plug that thing in, spend an extra $1.25 every 2 days on electricity, and be able to fire it up, go out 5 minutes later, and actually have heat and stuff because everything was warmed up and ready to go. I mean, heat is a treat in a diesel.
Yeah, well, and not only the creature comforts, but just the operating temp of the engine. You know, we've seen so many 6.0s, 6.2s with the EGR coolers where the condensation and the I guess maybe lack of heat makes little pinholes into the coolers, and you start having issues, and then your head gaskets start going, and there's a lot more to the modern diesel, and they've perfected it for a fair amount, but I can pretty much guarantee you talk to any modern 2500 Cummins owner, and he's going to tell you that there are a lot of issues.
Well, very well said. I mean, the emissions and everything else rely on temperature and heat. Here's the deal. You drive by any gas station that has a parking spot for diesels, or you're going down the highway and pull off a rest stop, they don't shut them off. They don't shut them off because they're lazy and they're anti-Al Gore and they want to make a big carbon footprint and all that. They need to keep all the heat they possibly can in it, because when they build heat, they have good economy and they run better and they last longer because you get all that out of there. And the problem we have today, just like the Prius owners that have a 5-mile commute, is the diesel guy who gets in it, starts it up cold, drives 10 minutes to work, shuts it off. Noon he goes 5 minutes to Burger King, back, and everything else. That's terrible. He'd be better off firing that thing up on a day like today and letting it run all freaking day long. And the money he burns in diesel fuel, he would save on repairs on that engine, because cold engines and diesels just don't work.
To add to that, anybody who says it's the low sulfur fuel or issues like that, you can swing by our shop and we can have a discussion, because the world is not flat, it's round, and the sulfur content doesn't matter. It is so much more on the driving habits, and you can tell flat out by the manufacturer taking all of the exhaust manifolds, instead of putting them conventionally on the outside of the engine, they're putting them on the inside in the valley.
Try to heat that
right next to
up.
the turbo to heat that up. So there is so many things that they're doing to try to make the diesel engine more efficient and competitive with other competitors like the electric, hybrid, gas. And
you can do a lot with the diesel. They've made great strides. And, you know, the fact of the matter is diesels used to be, like, you take a first-generation Cummins in a Dodge truck, that thing weighs 2,500 pounds. It's cast iron. It's beefy as heck. They got 2, 3, 4 times the compression ratio that our gas engines do. But the government said, we got to meet these specifications. So they start making them out of aluminum. They make them lighter. And they've done a superb job of making them run right, make big power, be lightweight, and be efficient. But it's not your 1978, 12-liter Cummins that you can drive 500,000 miles. It's just not that beefy.
Yeah, it's completely different. You take a 12-valve Cummins versus your, was it 6.7 Power Stroke?
Yeah, yep.
International called it a day with the Ford and their marriage around the 7.3, 6.0, I believe. I'm not a big...
After the 6.0.
Yeah, and they just, because you had to get on-road light emissions, and so you gotta get it somewhere, and you go from there. And the one thing that really it makes me kind of chuckle, and I gotta kind of bite my tongue a little bit, is but when we haven't seen too many of them, but we've got a couple customers that have the half-ton, they call them the Duramax.
Oh, little
but
V6.
They're like they're the tiny little 2 2.3s or something. I forget what they are, and I'm just like, oh, that's cute. You think you got yourself a Duramax? That's, you know, like the old Trailblazers that had the Denali
and like the Jeep Cherokees with the little Mercedes diesel and stuff. Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, good for you. Good.
All right,
for
I got a
you.
question you raised on the engine block heater. Serious question. If somebody owns a pickup truck, or just for that matter, they've got a 2016 Toyota Camry. It's a nice top of the end, XLE Camry. They want to take care of it. Is there any advantage of them if, especially here's the catcher, they don't have a garage, or they don't. The garage is full of crap, so they got to park it outside. Is there any advantage to having them in a cold winter? And I'm talking a winter where you have 30 degree or colder nights. Is there any advantage to having a plug-in engine block heater?
I'll give my opinion, and I think John's probably going to look at it from a different angle. But for me, if you drive that thing long enough to actually warm it up, I mean, if you're the type of person who fires it up and drives like I do 3 miles down the road and shuts it off, long term, not in 20 or 30,000 miles, but if you buy that thing brand new when it's got 125 on it, you're going to have a healthier engine than the guy who does the same thing without it. Like John said, condensation is everything. And it takes a while. Just because you're starting to get heat out of it doesn't mean that engine's certainly warmed up and that all that's out of there, and it rots out exhaust systems, and it's not good for the engine, and it just, but I would say in our climate with a gasoline engine, make sure at least, maybe take the long way home and get that thing thoroughly warmed up. That's the best thing you can do long term for the vehicle.
That's a good point. Mr. Puhek?
I've got guys up in the Keweenaw that I've known for years, and if you've got a block heater and it's not a diesel, you're a certain type of person. It's called driving the car. It's getting the heat cycles, and you can have a block heater, and if you had Al's commute, which is, the 2 miles or whatever, you still, every time you change that oil, you'd pull that oil cap and you'd see that peanut butter, gunk on there. You got to get the heat cycles in there. And the biggest thing is just getting out and driving it. You can, if it gets like in the Antarctica or whatever, fine. Yeah, get a block heater. But pretty much, here in the state of Michigan, Minnesota, the Midwest, you can fire any gas car up. It's going to be fine. Let it warm up for about 5 minutes. Go out, drive it. If your commute's 2 minutes, I don't know, go get some groceries or go for a cruise and just kind of grab Junior and the wife and just go for a ride and get a good heat soak in there, because that's the biggest thing you can do. The quick heat cycles, like Al said, that's not really doing a whole lot other than just getting you a little bit of heat in the cabin. That's not doing anything to the engine. That's just creature comfort. So
just like we tell people when they store their cars, if you're keeping it in your garage and you have the ability to go start it up and run it, which we prefer over just letting it sit there dry, you can't run it for 5 minutes and turn it off. It's got to get up to temperature, put that transmission reverse, move it back and forth, move some fluids around, get some real heat in it and go. And I will say that I think as far as I read an article from an engineer from Nissan, you know how I feel about the French-Japanese car company, but he said that one of the biggest things that has been a bonus to them, because they track the kind of warranty issues they have in Arizona and California and New Mexico, and what they have in the Pacific Northwest, and what they have in Florida, and what they have in Maine, and what they have in the Midwest. And he said one of the biggest things that we used to have warranty issues with, like valve train problems and camshaft phasers and timing chains and tensioners and all that, is on a decline, is because of the remote starters. Because if I get up, I'm going to have a cup of coffee and I'm going to brush my teeth. I might as well fire up the damn truck and get it warm when I jump in it instead of freezing my butt off, right? And he said that they were able to track that, improve that, just having those and the people getting their cars warmer has saved them money on warranty repairs. That's crazy.
Well, and how many especially in the European world, how many, where they call them cold weather kits for the PCV systems, or how many redesigned, re-engineered systems do they have, because people are just going 5 minutes and then shutting off. 5 minutes to the grocery store, shutting it off. 5 minutes home, so you don't have that get up to temp, and not only up to temp for 2 seconds, but up to temp, and then let's go cruise at 50 miles an hour for at least 20 minutes. You burn all that stuff off. That's why they have these elaborate PCV systems. I mean, you think of what...
To save themselves warranty money.
Exactly,
I mean, BMW, with their most popular vehicle in the world, the only reason they're doing it is to save themselves millions.
Yeah, I mean, you think about what the valve used to be. It was a tiny little check valve that went in the valve cover. It was a little ball and spring. Now you look at what Audi...
It's the whole system.
Exactly. It's a multi-sectional, very expensive setup, and it's mainly because people aren't driving the distance, or if they are, they're just quickly shutting it off and calling it a day.
Because what we were taught is what they build is based on what the government's specifications are. The car runs for 10 minutes, it goes 50 miles an hour for 5 minutes, and this is what it's got to do. We could do this forever. Sorry, Phil, we're going over.
That's quite all right. I got to go back to Galaxy out of the garage. It's been sitting there. It's been sitting there for 2+ months.
He doesn't drive it even in the summer.
But
so.
you know what though? Full confession. And you've worked on that car a lot. I did not start it up once last year, and it probably ran the best it's run.
You know what? There's a lot of COVID vehicles out there. There's millions of them, John and I see every year, and you just think, hey, I haven't seen that yellow Corvette or that green Camaro or what, it's just like, all the good cars lost a year.
Yeah, they did indeed. Well, that's going to put the wraps on episode number 40. Check us out wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're everywhere. You can even say, Alexa, play Michigan's Auto Talk podcast. Until next time, I'm producer Phil Tower.
I'm Al Schwinkendorf.
I'm Batman. Thanks for listening.
Yes, he is.
Progressive presents Forced Metaphors about bundling your home and auto.
In sports, 3 goals is a hat trick. And when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, you get a hat trick of great savings and round-the-clock protection. So you might be thinking, wait, that's 2 things. A hat trick is 3. But in this metaphor, great savings counts as 2 goals, and so does round-the-clock protection. So it's like 4 goals, and that's more than 3. It's basic math.
Forced Metaphors, presented by Progressive. Bundle and protect today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.